Hello, welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I'm Lauren Lyman.
And I'm Tracy Schnabel.
And today we are going to be talking about being mindful of your mindset and how that can have a positive effect on your entire life. So before we get started, again, we are two occupational therapists who noticed a gap in the healthcare system, primarily mental health, nutrition, prevention, and reversal of disease. So we are going to focus on all of those areas in our podcast. We did all the research for you so that all you have to do is listen in once a week and you can really learn a lot on how to improve your life. So before we get started, we do have a legal disclaimer. Our podcasts are for informational purposes only, so if you have a specific medical concern, please consult with your medical provider. We do not have any warranties or representations for any of the information provided, so please proceed at your own risk. And if you have a medical emergency, please call 911 immediately. So Tracy, let's talk about your mindset.
Okay, so we've touched similar topics, but this is more a generalized mindset. So the definition of a mindset is a core assumption of how things and processes work in the world, and it orients us to our particular attributions, expectations, and goals that we have. So I don't really remember learning about this when I was younger by like parents or teachers. Mindfulness has kind of had an uptick, I think, during the current time, and it's really needed, especially now in light of current events. So again, what is mindset? It's a belief system, okay? And we're going to focus on how does that affect your health. So, and like different studies of mindsets, they notice that mindset can impact your health in a lot of ways, okay? So if you have there's a growth mindset, which is a big movement that we're using in the schools, where it's a belief, and it's actually rooted in science, that we have neuroplasticity in the brain. So really, you can get better at anything is the truth. So, like I always use this example with my patients. When you're learning baseball for the first time, you're not going to automatically be good at it, right? You're going to be kind of awkward about how you're holding the bat. It's going to be hard to follow the ball. Your swing is going to be a little off. You're going to be thinking about your feet position. But once you do it a lot of times, it creates motor pathways in the brain, and it remembers all those things. You don't have to pay as much attention to all the small components at once. It's a lot easier, and you get a lot better at being accurate. Well, that's the same thing with your brain with anything. Your brain creates more pathways the more you practice. So having a fixed mindset, thinking like you can only be good at things, inherently. So you can, intelligence is static, like either you're smart or you're not. Dancing, like either you're a good dancer or you're not a good dancer. I know, I just took a yoga class and a class about social emotional learning. It's called Breathe for Change. Check it out if you're an educator. And they were talking about the teachers, how they taught their real young ones this through books. Like, can a giraffe dance? And all the kids are going to say, no. But the idea is to teach children, and we can even teach adults this, that you can get better at anything. You just have to have the mindset of, okay, I just need to practice it more and establish those brain pathways, right? And then further with the research and how it impacts health directly, they looked at, aging in people. So people have I saw this firsthand, certain mindsets about aging. So you have a client or a patient, whatever you're calling them in your practice, who thinks of aging as an inevitable process where you're going to decline in your, physical health and your activity levels. Well, that's going to affect how good their health is, right? And it's going to affect whether they decide to exercise or eat healthy or be involved in their community. Because if I think, well, I'm getting old and that's why I have my bones hurting and why my muscles aren't strong, you're not going to be very motivated to start an exercise program or to do some stretches or to do anything because you think this is inevitable. But if you have a growth mindset where you think, well, being old doesn't necessarily mean declining. Maybe it means getting better to me because I've had so much more experience. I have so many more things I want to do. Then you're going to have more positive health. So you might try to eat better, you might try to exercise more, and you might want to join more things, right? So it has affected people, and this would affect my patients too. If they're just like, oh, I'm old, that's why I have arthritis, or oh, I'm old, that's why I have this shoulder problem, or whatever problem they came in for. I used to right away be like, no, we got to get in here. We got to reverse this belief, because you do not have to get arthritis. You do not have to, have limitations. I would see patients that were, and this was the rarity, okay? But I think it's because of our mindset about aging, where from the back, you couldn't tell that they were like in their 80s, because they were still working, still doing their hobbies, still doing all these things, because they were just excited about life, and they had the mindset that just because they're getting older doesn't mean that they have to decline. So I told my patients about that. Don't think that you have to decline, because I've looked at these patients and their body looks like mine in my 30s and they're 80.
And a lot of people blame genetics. It's inevitable.
Too, yeah.
It's in my genes, blah, blah, blah. Oh. Genes have to be turned on or turned off. And that happens through your behavior. So, and through your attitude too, because that affects, emotional health affects our physical health. And you can check out our video on that. But if you're blaming extrinsic forces, it's out of my control, then one, you're not going to be motivated to do anything different. But two, if you're not feeling in control of your health, then you don't have control over your health. Mm-hmm. You need to recognize that, hey, I can make a difference. And that, yeah, as I age, things may get more challenging, or I may need more nutrition because my body's not absorbing vitamins the way it used to be able to. Mm-hmm. All that means is, hey, I got to be motivated to eat more fruits and vegetables because I need more. Not like, well, we're done. Life's over, So really, do you want to improve your quality of life? It starts intrinsically. What is motivating you to do that?
And also this whole mindset thing also is with pain, okay? So we were talking about that the other day. I used to also teach my patients, sometimes they would, after having a neurological injury, sometimes a stroke on one side, and they had a lot of pain, they would just be like, oh, it's never going to get better. It's always going to be in pain like this. I just wish I could cut it off. And I'm like, that is the absolute not way to think about this. And you need to stop it right now. Because I just knew inherently, and then Lauren can explain in a second scientifically, but I knew inherently with my experience with my patients, the ones that said, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing through pain and I'm going to get there. I can visualize my arm getting better and see it moving and visualize myself doing all these things. But the ones that said, oh, it's never going to get better, it's useless, I should just cut it off, I hate my arm, man, that arm would not move for us, and the exercises or any kind of therapy would not respond. So you have to change your mindset even about pain, because Lauren's going to talk about how your brain interprets pain as how much pain you have. Mm-hmm. What? Mindset affects your pain level.
So, believe it or not, we do not have any specific pain receptors in the body. We have temperature receptors, we have chemical receptors, and we have pressure receptors. Mm-hmm. We have all these different kind of sensory receptors, but pain is not one of them. Pain is not a concrete, I touched the stove and I felt pain. No, you touched the stove, you felt the temperature, that signal went up to your brain interpreted it as pain, because as we talk about in our other videos, pain is a warning sign that something's not right. So your body says, ouch, that hurts, you better move your hand off, and then we remove our hand. So pain is an interpretation by the brain, and when you have preconceived notions about pain, this is really seen in childbirth too. Women who see the discomfort and the stretching and all of that and the contractions, people who see that as really, really painful are going to experience more pain than people who see it as this contraction's getting me closer to meeting my baby. This is productive. My body knows what it's doing. And that's why affirmations have actually been shown to reduce pain, because you're putting your energy elsewhere.
I am strong, and I feel good. My arm is good, even before it is good.
Yeah, and that's why also, if you cause pain in another part of your body, or you pinch yourself or whatever, it distracts your brain from the other pain, and you focus on that, and it makes the other pain less. Because again, your pain is your brain's interpretation. So if you give your brain something else to focus on, then it can't focus its full attention on like, oh my God, this hurts. So important to stay positive.
So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. And that also goes along like for children as well. So in a research study, they were looking at kids and seeing how their brain and EEG responded to performance-based testing. So certain kids that had a growth mindset, if they did bad, or I shouldn't say bad, but if they didn't get the correct answer for something and they got the feedback that that it was incorrect, and they would continue to be lit up in the prefrontal cortex and continue to work hard and continue to be interested in improving despite the setback. But for the kids that had a fixed mindset, that were only looking to like have positive results, positive feedback from what their answers were, they noticed that the brain started to shut down in the prefrontal cortex, and if they got wrong, they stopped engaging. So what does this mean? So kids that will, and they found this scientifically, that have a growth mindset, so they believe that failures are okay, they will continue to be engaged, and they will continue to like work hard at improving themselves, and they'll have higher GPAs. But kids that have like a fixed mindset, that think if they fail, that they're just going to fail for forever down the line in school, on the tests and everything, then they actually do worse. And you could see the difference in activity levels reflected in the EEGs. And then this reminded me of an inspirational lecture that I heard one time. As in this lecture, this one kid was told, to make this more clear, that he was educatably mentally retarded. So he wasn't trying to learn anything after that, as you could expect, because he was told by a teacher, you've been tested, you're educatably mentally retarded. So he was not really engaging in class. And finally he had a teacher that said, why don't you try harder to read this? Why don't you do this? And he said, I can't, sir. I'm educatably mentally retarded. I can't do it. And he said, who told you that? And he explained the story of how he was told that and how he was labeled this. And he said, don't let anybody tell you what you are. You're a child in my class. I've seen what you can do. You can do this. You can do anything you want to do. What is it that you want to do? He's like, well, I'd like to be like a DJ one day, sir. And he was like, okay, well then you're going to work up to that. But the first step is believing that you can. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. And so he became a DJ, and now he's like an inspirational speaker, and he kept trying even though it was hard. So it's having like this kind of resiliency mindset is so important. That's what we're trying to teach the kids at my school. To be successful is you have to have resilience and not be fixed in your mind of this is how things are going to stay forever. So those were just like a couple studies that I wanted to talk about, the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and just encouraging you to have a growth mindset so that you have a better approach to your health, that you have more control of your health, that you don't have to have accept chronic disease. You don't have to accept low energy. You don't have to accept, being depressed. That you can change these things. That you have more locus of control. And the same thing for kids. Teach your kids that you can improve on anything. To have that growth mindset, and don't think of things as fixed. Think of anything as attainable, as long as you put in the effort and you keep trying. And failure is okay. For some reason, we've been taught like failure isn't okay, but if you talk to anybody that's been really successful, they've failed way more times than any other person. So you have to be able to accept failure and work through it, and have the belief that you can do anything, as long as you put in the work. And that's it. That was just a short episode about your mindset and how it can improve your health and improve your life. So have a positive mindset, and you can do anything you want.
So please like our video, subscribe to our channel, share our video, sign up for alerts so you know that when more videos are coming. Visit us at www.facebook.com/Lauren and Tracy. If you need any holistic health, wellness, life coaching services, I do that. Tracy can help, reset your chakras and help you feel better and give you more energy through Reiki. So please, and if you have any questions, send us an email at alive2thriveot@gmail.com. And that's it.
And thank you for being with us. We're wishing you physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. We'll see you next time, and take care.